Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tea Writes. This is our chill writing hangout. If this is your first time here, my name is Jax. I will be your lovely little host and conductor right now. I'm a fantasy author currently working on my debut novel, hopefully, fingers crossed. You can kind of sort of see it on your screen. I'm experimenting right now with some blur tools. Apparently, you should not be actually showing your work in progress. I mean, part of the reason why I do these streams is to give people low-key previews of what I'm working on, but probably I shouldn't be showing you everything. So, apologies. If you want me to actually kind of give you a little peek-see, let me know. It's something new and something exciting. But enough about me. Let's talk about the stream. If this is your first time here, it's a pretty chill and simple stream. Basically, if you're on Blue Sky, there's a little link right there that you might see right in front of you. I would suggest clicking on it. You can hit the play button on the player that's right there also in that post. However, you kind of miss part of the experience. The experience being, of course, the lovely chat that's right in front of you. Uh, the lovely chat that's right here in through that link. Uh, that chat is open. You can basically say whatever you'd like in it, and so long as it doesn't, violate UTPTOS or anything like that. And I will read what you write out loud and respond to it, and that's like the social interaction part of it. If you're shy, we do have an icebreaker. That icebreaker is usually a writing question just to kind of get yourself in the mood to socialize and just sort of talk about yourself. Today's icebreaker is going to be a little bit unusual, but I will explain. It's simply, have you ever done NaNoWriMo, aka National Novel Writing Month, the challenge in which you write 50,000 words in a single month? And why or why not? Now, the reason why I ask this is because if you know a little bit about NaNoWriMo history, or if you don't, fun fact, you might have asked yourself, why 50,000? Who would do this? These people are insane. And the truth is, if you ever actually read the FAQ on NaNoWriMo, or actually, I think it's Wikipedia that reveals this. But way back in 1999, the very first year that, or back in Seattle, not November even, is just like some random month, I think it was July, a bunch of people got together and they did a little bit of a writing challenge in person. But after that year, they were like, well, we kind of want to move it to the shittiest month in the year so that we can sit down and write and have, we don't really have anything else to do. It's shitty, it's Seattle, and it's raining like fuck. So we're just going to sit here and write an entire novel in a month. And that is the origin of NaNoWriMo. And the relevancy here is it is very crappy outside right now. New York City is under yet another wind and cold advisory. It's kind of a little bit cray-cray. Like, we're talking like 40 mile per hour winds. It's so weird that it's been kind of this intense lately, but it is what it is, I suppose. Anyway, that is the reasoning behind today's icebreaker. So there we go. Now on to the rest of the usual spiel. In about 25 minutes, we will begin the first of our word sprints. Now you'll also see the timer up in your left-hand corner. That timer is for a specific reason. Basically, a word sprint, if you've never done them before, it's a period of intense productivity. Traditionally, you're supposed to be writing during them, but we like to take our definition of word sprint very loosely. You can write there, you can edit, which I will be doing today. I'm editing, not writing, hence also why the blurring, because this might actually be final. We don't know. Um, you can do non-writing things during these sprints. I've had people do art. I've had people do solo TTRPGs. I've had people do laundry during these sprints. Whatever is productive during those 20 minutes, go ahead and do them. And then at the end of the 20 minutes, we'll have a 15-minute break to just sort of chill out, get up, or at least you get up and walk around and rehydrate yourself, because breaks are important during these little bits of productivity. And we'll also talk about how you did during those 20 minutes, cheer you on. Maybe we'll talk about something else during those 15-minute breaks. And then we launch into the next sprint. And we'll be doing that 3 times total. So it is... Actually, we tend to do them 4 times during T-Writes. If you attend our Wednesday night streams, because they're on Wednesday nights and I'm usually conked out already, but still writing for some reason, then we'll do 3 sprints. But today we're doing 4 sprints usually. So that's 4 20-minute sprints separated by 15-minute breaks each. At the end, it's pretty simple. We just wrap things up, say farewell, and see each other in the next weekend. That having been said, now that I've spent 10 minutes screwing around, we usually use these first 30 minutes to let people trickle in and say hi. I am going to turn to the chat now and see the lovely people. Gabe has entered. Gabe says good morning. And same thing with Cameron. Cameron has joined the chat and said morning, and I say morning to the both of you. I have cocoa and cream of wheat in front of me, so you might hear breakfast sounds. It is kind of early, I do admit. I've actually gotten people on Blue Sky saying, ah man, that's way too early, but I wish I could join, and I will respond to them eventually, but yes, it is 8:37 in the morning over here in New York City. I only woke up about 20 minutes ago, and then I threw things together very last minute. I should have gotten things done last night, but you know how it is. It's like you make that bread, you make that overtime, but then you wipe yourself out. But we're here now. Gabe says, I did do NaNoWriMo a few times. I found it to be a good motivator, but the time constraint and doing it during such a busy time of the year as a retail worker was way too much. Oh, yeah. Yeah. November must be very much hell for a retail worker. Especially towards the end after Thanksgiving. Oh, God. And then I salute you for being able to do all that and NaNoWriMo on top of that. Though I do have to admit, the first few times I did NaNoWriMo, I was actually a food service worker, and a grad student as well. So it was kind of interesting. That was actually the first time that I've actually won too, and the first time that I did an in-person write-in. It was like, I had so much more energy when I was like 20 something. Gabe says, I only won 3 times out of 6. One of them I never even started. Totally valid. To further answer my own icebreaker, I used to do NaNoWriMo pretty consistently, up until fairly recently. I think the last time that I actually did NaNoWriMo was, like, proper NaNoWriMo was 2023, I think? And I did not win that one. I won 2022. I did. It's a crapshoot whether or not I win or not. I think I've won. I want to say 5 times, 4 times. I'd have to actually go on the NaNoWriMo website to know for certain. But I do know it was at least twice because that is how I managed to get Scrivener on both Windows and Mac. But anyway, none of that actually got published either. I think I did original works on only half of the NaNoWriMo stuff. But anyway, as for the portion, it's just fun. Um, I also do Camp NaNoWriMo and just sort of my own goals and whatnot. Or actually, most of the time I try to do traditional NaNoWriMo for Camp NaNoWriMo. So yeah, I am expanding the question to also include whether or not you've done Camp NaNoWriMo, which happens in April and July, if you didn't know that existed. Also, if you didn't know that existed, that one was the one that actually encouraged you to choose your own goals. So you didn't have to do the 50,000. You could do as little or as much as you wanted. Like I said, for the first few years that I did Camp NaNoWriMo, I would try to do it traditional, so 50,000. But I think towards the end it was just sort of like I have a goal in mind. I'm just writing to that. But as Gabe said, it is a very excellent motivator, but it's also like part of it was very social. I like to do the write-ins when I could. My local communities have been pretty cool, though Boston's was a lot better than New York's, no offense, but like, I gotta say, there aren't really too many in person. Shockingly, too few in person New York write ins, and shockingly, very little interest in having them, which is a little bit disappointing. But, yeah, so social, it's motivational, it's fun. Like, you're challenging yourself to really push the boundaries of your creativity and your productivity. And you get cool prizes at the end. You got to have achievements if you did the NaNoWriMo website. I don't know. Like, we all talk about how painful writing is, but like, NaNoWriMo was very painful, but at the same time, like, it encouraged you to really sit down and think about writing and why you're doing it and really embrace it wholeheartedly for 1 month or more, because there are other playing stages. So it was very much a lot of fun. um Taisha has walked in and said good morning. I say good morning back, and we are all greeting Taisha. um what else? Yeah, it was kind of so that so that's why I'm always pro NaNoWriMo, because ultimately it is a challenge. It's fun. It's a game. Uh, it's nothing serious. So like, you can do it if you want to. You can do it how you want to. Technically, nobody. It is fully honor system, so like you can do whatever you want with the challenge, but don't yuck people's yum whenever they do it. Um, Also, it's not for everybody, for sure. You definitely have to be in a certain mindset to do it. I've been more successful if I just let myself pants during it. So, but like, it is very intimidating to undertake. And I would not recommend it if you were the kind of person who worried yourself into the ground and kind of, not to like sound weird about it, but like, the more anxiety you feel towards writing, the less successful you will be while writing. So it is something that I would recommend for people who like to have a challenge to do anything really, who like to gamify their experiences, who like to who don't mind doing a lot of things under pressure as well, because you're always constantly thinking about your daily word count and trying to fit a writing session in, or somebody or people who just need kind of like a push to develop writing habits, because it will force you to sit down and write every single day. Anyway, Tasha says, I did NaNoWriMo several times. I've always finished the word count. I always had fun, but I was never happy with the quality and never got through the plots I had written. But good experience. Cameron says, I've never tried it. I don't think it would be good for me. Yeah, like I said, it is definitely not for everybody. It is the kind of thing that you do only if you can work well under pressure and you don't mind a challenge. Everybody else, it is a very exhausting experience. And I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want to discourage people from trying it on their own. But it does demand a lot from you. So it is definitely not something that I would recommend. But that having been said, I do encourage people to try challenges if they're having trouble getting back into writing. So maybe not a full 50,000, but consider trying maybe 10,000 words in a month and see how you do, you know? Or something that would encourage you to sit down as frequently as possible. I know that the going advice right now is that you don't want to force yourself to write every single day because that will burn you out. But if you're suffering from writer's block, sometimes the best way out is actually to muscle through. Meaning you do have to kind of like sit down and you do have to write. So a nano challenge would be good if you're trying to really convince yourself to sit down and write. It's a motivator to do that. And I would stock it with your own rewards because NaNoWriMo org obviously is not doing that anymore. That having been said, fuck NaNoWriMo org, by the way. I'm not super surprised that what happened. The forums were exceptionally shitty. I am a little bit disappointed that a lot of folks conflated NaNoWriMo the challenge with NaNoWriMo the org. The NaNoWriMo the challenge is just its own thing. It's not dead. It's still a thing that you can do. You just do it on your own the way that we used to do it back in the 2000s and 2010s, you know? So it's just that the gatekeepers of it, essentially, or the guardians of it, uh, no longer exist, and that is a good thing because if you know what went down that caused NaNoWriMo to issue plethoras of shitty apologies and really fumble closing down their forums, then yeah, it was understandable. But man, that was also a fragment of forum culture back in the day. Like, you always had the weird ass groomers, and you always had lackadaisical staff who turned the blind eye to shenanigans, and you always had overworked mods trying to keep their own little corners of the forums together. And you had a ton of people who were constantly who formed these little communities, these little tight-knit communities on forums, and those tight-knit communities could be good or bad. Some of them were also filled with groomers. Some of them were filled with weird-ass people who like to complain a lot. It was wild. So I kind of felt like when NaNoWriMo closed down, that was yet another forum shutting down, and I'm cool with us losing forum culture. Like, that is one piece of the old internet biosphere that I do not mind going extinct, because damn, those were weird ass times. It was basically like, if you've never really frequented forums, imagine like 4chan mixed with the worst parts of Reddit, and those were a lot of hobbyist forums, especially gaming forums for some reason. Any forums centered around the fandom of a game. I have seen some wild shit out of Pokemon forums. Let's just say, wild shit that's was either extremely toxic or extremely not safe for work. And there would be children there, because of course there were. Anyway. Man, that was something. Anyway, to respond to Taisha as well. Totally also understandable. During NaNoWriMo, you are writing absolute shit because like you're focused on the word count more so than the quality. I have heard of people who have managed to polish their stories up and turn them into published books. Like, most famously, I think, would be Legends and Lattes. Travis Baldry originally did that as a NaNoWriMo project. And look at how it turned out. But I think, first off, you have to actually finish the entire novel during that month. That is something that I've never done. And second off, you really have to dedicate yourself to polishing the shit out of that. Taisha says, I'm currently reading Legends and Lattes. So funny. It is on my TBR. It's a lot of fun. It is on my TBR. I have to admit, Cozy Fantasy has... I like Cozy Fantasy video games. I am not 100% sold on Cozy Fantasy books quite yet. But, oh, what am I reading right now that's actually turning me onto it? And I promise this will be relevant. But, oh yes, I am currently, one of the books that I'm currently reading is Sweet and Wild by Alex Larkspur. And it is so cute and so fuzzy and so kind of already romantic that I'm like, okay, I think I see what's the big deal. And I have I have read Travis Baldry's entire guide to self-publishing, so I already respect him, and I already kind of do want to dive into it. I just have to kind of slide into eventually getting that off of my TBR and maybe actually buying it. We'll see how that works out. Gabe says The Witch of Eden Hollow started out as a first draft fall project this past November. Clearly, it took me more than a month to write. LOL. I am but you're almost done. I did see the snip yesterday. I have to actually sit down and read through Faveline Friday entries. I'm going to do that later on today after the stream and after Benjamin gets a bath. But I'm very excited to see that you are almost done with it. Gabe says, I love Sweet and Wild. It is very cute and very fuzzy, and I already love Micah. So I love Micah, and I love the Sin Eater that he's just met. I'm only on chapter 2, but it is very much fun. So I am delighted that this is kind of my intro to cozy fantasy. It was, I think also I kind of got steered away from it by Ripler, but so I am extra delighted that there are books that are kind of like coaxing me back and saying, "Hey, yeah, no, we're a lot better than you think we are. It's okay. We'll smooth over any trauma that you might have had towards fun people." But I'm kind of also hoping it's also kind of making me realize that indie fantasy is kind of more enjoyable than traditionally published fantasy, which is great because eventually I'm going to have to market my books, and I feel like traditionally published fantasy nowadays is very painful to read. So, you know, I might sneak a little peek in the indie market, what's popular over there, and kind of like pick up a few titles in the various subgenres and see how I do. But anyway, it is 8:54, so we're gonna start preparing to get into our very first sprint. Uh, Tell us a little bit about what you guys are working on, maybe. I'm a little bit excited because Taisha asks, Jax, have you read Dreadful? I don't know what that is. Let me see. I am looking it up. Is that... Oh, who's the author for that? Because there are, that's a common title right there. Oh, okay. So the first hit is the one that you were talking about. Excellent. I have not. Let me see what it looks like. Sharply debut high fantasy first, did you? Oh, that does look pretty fun. So I'm actually going to add that to my TBR as well. I have not, in other words, I have not actually read this, but like I said, it looks like a lot of fun, and I would be down for poking a little bit more into it. Who published this? Boop doo 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 doo. Oh, Titan. Okay. Anyway, Gabe says, also thank you for the rec. I'm going to, I have to admit, I know Amazon is gauche right now, but I downloaded a sample and I'll check it out as soon as I can. Gabe says, I'm writing the second draft of chapter 15. I'm waiting a little bit to write the epilogue because I have a vision, but writing it is another story. Totally a-okay. Sorry, I got distracted a little bit by Taisha, but Taisha's Sarah Fisk, aka Sarah Nicholas, got it. Uh, but also, to Gabe, I totally understand waiting a little bit for the epilogue. But I wish you the best of luck on the second draft of Chapter 15. Tasha says, for the spring, I'm back to editing my novel, Hope Punk Sci-Fi novel about an alien zoo. Then back to querying maybe in a few weeks. Sprint, sorry about that. That sounds excellent. That said, it is 9 o'clock, so I'm going to quickly shift away from the chat to do our usual warm-up. So, back straight in your seats. Deep breath in. And out through your mouth. One more time. And back out. Wiggle your fingers. Rotate your wrists. Now 20 minutes are on that clock. I wish you all the best of luck. Get ready. Get set. And here we go. Alright, that is the first of our 4 sprints. How did we do? Let me just mark off where I am. Okay. I edited through 750 words. I might still trim it down. I'm trying to trim down. Currently, this what you see in front of you is chapter 5. Is 7,061 words. It's not bad to be that long, but I would prefer it if it were shorter. So we'll see what happens. Gabe says pretty good. Got into some cult leader dialogue. Reverend Price is quite a zealot. I am really curious. What does the cult believe in? So, are we talking doomsday cult? Are we talking weird shit cult? Please feel free. But as for myself, I am right now building up the. It is we are fast approaching what I like. We are fast approaching what I like to call the dragoning, which is the moment where Mick turns into a dragon. It's literally at the end of this chapter, and we are literally halfway through said chapter, but is still a chunker of a chapter. So I'm kind of hoping maybe trimming it down somewhere. Alternatively, the point of this draft is to incorporate the new ideas that I had to take into consideration my beta's comments, which were basically that the concepts were good, but the execution was a trash fire. So I might rant about the beta phase because it is something that I constantly am thinking about and something that I have to get off my chest at some point. But basically, this entire draft is dedicated towards not necessarily nuking it from the ground up, but trying to get it into a shape that I actually enjoy reading through and that I wouldn't mind building up for the rest of the 100,000 words that I have to tell this story. But basically, the betas were right in a sense. In that there were a lot of slow chapters, there was a lot of dodging of a plot. There was more of basically the earlier drafts were less about Mick leading the dragons and more about Mick avoiding his responsibility to lead the dragons because this was supposed to be the opening of a trilogy. So I wanted this book to be like he's freaking out, he wants to turn back, he's going to go off on a journey across the kingdom to find people who can help. So it was actually a dual POV book. The other half was Eleanor for coming to terms that this is a serious situation, that her best friend is in trouble, and reflecting on her role in that and how she can do better in order to help him out. But the main goal was to get Mick to Eldiven, the capital, because Eleanor was convinced that her brother could help. But then it turned out that it didn't matter because Mick is a dragon, so therefore Mick has to die. And after originally that, like in the very first drafts that happened, actually, yeah, midway through the book, they got to Eldiven and figured that out, and then the rest of the book was like Mick trying to figure out what to do next. Mick and Ellen are trying to figure out what to do next. And eventually they decide that going with the dragons and actually giving into Mick's destiny of leading them is their only option. But a lot of the readers felt like the beginning of the earlier drafts dragged on way too long. It is true. The original beginnings of the earlier drafts, it did take a bit to get to the dragoning. The dragoning would happen in like chapter 7 at 30,000 words or something like that. We are currently standing chapter 5, and, well, let's see, actually. Chapter 5 at 28,000 words. So by 30,000 words, I mean like 35. So it's not bad. There are still a fewer words, and it still probably needs to be trimmed up, but it feels more like a lot of this stuff does need to be here. It is developing a plot, the reasoning behind the dragging, and so forth. And hopefully it's a little bit clearer. But also, I am a little bit frustrated because the more that I think about it, the more that I realize that I gave the draft to people who would not actually enjoy reading the Nameless Song in the first place. Like, a lot of it was marketed as a fantasy all the way, but there are subgenres of fantasy. So you wouldn't exactly give this to somebody who was not into romantic fantasy, and consequently, like, but also I feel like a lot of betas, maybe it's different depending on who you hand this off to, but I feel like what happened is I gave this to forum style betas. So what I mean by that is I keep on shitting on forum culture, but it is a time of it is a period of the internet that's very particular, and it's very we're kind of like trying to move past that. I'm not 100% sure if Reddit writing communities are like this, but forum communities, it was considered a good thing to get very pedantic. So you would be very thorough in your criticism and very criticism heavy. So basically, as constructive as the criticism was, kind of, sort of, there were definitely comments that were like, this could be made stronger, and it would be like, how? You know? Like, okay, so you're going to, you've made this comment that I should tighten this up, but you don't really specify what you want me to do, so I'm kind of sitting here for a half an hour trying to come up with a better ending to this chapter, and you're not really giving me what kind of ending would be tighter in your book, so, or any kind of direction. But I've had betas like that time and time again. And the more that I think about it, the more frustrated I get, because I feel like I don't want to blame the betas, but in TNS's case, as necessary as it was to, as fair of a point as it was, because the previous drafts were meandering, the beta phase for TNS did kill both my enthusiasm for writing it and the draft itself. So I feel like I've given it also to a friend of mine who read through it and liked it and wants me to keep on going with it. But he also made the point that there is such a thing as too much in terms of betaing. Uh, basically, he said that or actually several friends who had been given the draft and were also watching what was going on because all the beta comments were made to the same copy of the draft, which is something that I will do differently next time around. I do admit that was probably not the best idea. But in any case, a lot of people who were watching what was going on said, hey, yeah, this is a mountain of criticism. And it's a bit overboard. So I feel like when you're a beta, yes, it's okay to criticize it because that is why you were given it, but it should be done in a way that is actually geared towards shaping the draft in front of you into a book. It's like, do not change the draft in front of you into a different book. If you DNF a beta, then it's fine to DNF it and say why, but the book is what you got. The book is the author's vision. So, like, there's a principle in copy editing, and it's one of the first lessons that I had learned as when I did my grad degree in it. And when I did my grad degree, I took a course in copy editing, and this is the first thing that came out of my professor's mouth, and it is that the author's voice is paramount to everything else. So what that means is when you edit professionally, what you are assuming is that it's gone through dev edits, or what you see in front of you, the basic structure and basic story is what's going to be out there in the world. So your job is not to tell the author to nuke it and rewrite it, or to criticize the foundations of it in a way that would necessitate heavy rewriting. It's to take what's in front of you and find the parts that can be edited in a way that result in preserving the structure of the story, but strengthen it. So what the comments that I would get were like fundamental changes, like this is taking too long, but not, what to cut. This is this character arc makes no sense, but not. But revising it would actually change the entire story, things like that. And it's like I gave the book to the wrong audience, and they ripped it apart. And now now I'm on the 7th rewrite, essentially. It's very frustrating. But anyway, let me go back to the chat. I am so sorry for the rants. Gabe says, hence why Avery being gay is actually quite terrifying to him. Intimacy is only reserved in the cult for procreation between husband and wife. So in other words, your cult is fundamental Christians, but at Dutch. Anyway, probably. Anyway, Gabe says, on topic, I'm quite nervous to request for group beta readers. I'd rather try and find fellow writer reader friends that I trust to be unbiased to look at my stuff. Yeah, I'd also be careful there because that's where I recruit my betas. But it is, you are very much trusting somebody to look at your stuff, and not everybody is. There's some people will go overboard, and it's frustrating. Anyway, we are into the second sprint. 20 minutes are on the clock, so I will see you on the other side. All right, that is sprint number 2. How did we do? Top 2. Let's see. I edited 884 words, and I actually managed to trim down a lot of them. I went from 730 something down to 6,994, so a-okay. But that said, I actually have to step away from the computer for a little bit, so I'm going to leave y'all with the lo-fi and the chat. Feel free to post in the chat. I should only be about 5-10 minutes tops. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. Just needed to take care of some things, but let's see what happened while I was gone. Cryptic walked in, and Cryptic says, "Hello, I'm actually here and almost done with the dishes. Welcome." Gabe says, "I did great. The Faveline Friday snippet this week was really sweet, but before we get to that point, there's a ton of dodging and refusal to talk to each other first. That part's frustrating. That's to say, what I'm working on is Avery grieving because he thinks his secret boyfriend he broke up with is never coming back, and his dad doesn't know how to talk to him." Oh, that's gonna be so cute, or not cute, but like so heartwarming to get through. Like the reconciliation bit is going to be so excellent and so satisfying, I can tell. So I'm seriously excited to see how that plays out. Gabe says, "Hello, Cryptic." I also say, "Hello, Cryptic." Cryptic says, "And now I have to be RB myself, lol." Totally okay. But, yeah, this it. Tasha says they do all have a happy ending, right? Seconding that, if I recall correctly from the last chat, though, I will let Gabe answer. But, yes, I am looking forward to it. In other words, uh, otherwise, I am actually very much delighted. Gabe says they do. I am a creature that needs happy endings, so rest assured that all the MCs get a happily ever after in this story. Excellent. But also, hopefully, that does not include the pastor that you were talking about. I mean, I don't know. I count the MC as one of the the villains as an MC. But Taisha says, "Wonderful to hear. Yes, I need to give all my MCs happy endings too. Yes." Also, I'm in the same boat. Like, it's so cathartic. I can't do grimdark where people die and whatnot. Or I could if there's a satisfying ending in other people and get to mourn, but also live out happy lives as a result of that death. But that's about as close as I would ever want to go. Cryptic says, "I'm back from my think. How's everyone doing this morning?" Gabe says the villain does not get a happy ending. Excellent. But to answer Cryptic, doing swimmingly. I am just over halfway through with the chapter leading up to the dragoning, and I'm delighted. I am going to finish it or finish at least this morning, and then move on to editing chapter 6, and I'm looking forward to it. Chapter 6 might get an overhaul, though. We'll see. But, other than that, man, walking away from the lo-fi, putting down my headset and just walking away for a bit, it's absolutely crazy how weird the weather is right now. New York City is dealing with high-powered winds and cold temperatures. My apartment is calm and toasty warm, but once I put down my headset, I can hear the wind howling, and if I go near the windows, I start to feel the cold radiating through, and it's like, what is this? But anyway. Taisha says, "Yeah, that's what villains are for, right?" Absolutely. Cryptic says, "I'm bad at not giving my characters happy endings, even if they die." Fair enough. Taisha says my villain doesn't either, but they're basically off screen the whole time. Uh, Gabe says this week I actually got to write what's hopefully a satisfying end to Reverend Price's stinkiness. Down here too feels like -10 Fahrenheit outside. Yeah, this is definitely a day where you stay inside as much as possible and drink cocoa. That is basically my plan after the stream. Mentioned this briefly, but Benjamin's getting his monthly bath a little bit earlier because he's traveling. He has been traveling this month and he has been with a dog. And I can start smelling him, so he needs to have a bath, and then the rest, as he's drying, he will hang out by my desk, and I will finish this chapter, catch up with Fabeline Fridays, and just sort of chill out because this is. Last weekend I was getting in the last bits with family and traveling on a train for 8 hours, so this is, and this past week has been near murder because day job is getting kind of weird in terms of busyness. So right now it's like all I want to do is vegetate. So I'm not even changing out my PJs. Is just going to be stay indoors, listen to the howling wind, watch some stuff, and catch up on writing things. Uh, Cryptic says, ugh, it feels like -7 here, and somehow I'm just grateful it's not the -40 we were having not too long ago. Yeah, stay warm, everybody. Also, Jesus Christ, -40. Taisha says, Colorado is oddly warm today. It's getting up to, what? It's getting up to 65 Fahrenheit here. Seriously, I don't, how? Man, guys, climate change is wild. This is like it's like a weather pattern that happens only a few years. When was the last time we had El Nino? Cryptic says, I completely forgot the hashtag on my Faveline Friday post yesterday and didn't realize until hours later. I will admit that I mostly check the quote replies anyway, more so than my actual tag. I should probably check the actual tag now and then. So don't worry about it. I will find your post anyway. Taisha says, yes, I was outside in a t-shirt yesterday. We've got the lowest snowpack on record for the past 20 years now. That is freaky as hell. I don't like the climate change, guys. Get we not with the climate change? Uh, Taisha says, don't envy those ski resorts. Yeah. Wonder if they, like, still do routes with the fake snow, as that's what you have over in the east, at least. Like, if there's not enough snow on some ski resorts will just kind of like use fake snow. But like, obviously you can't do that with an entire mountain. They will do it for certain slopes, uh, just to like bring in money. But I I don't know what you guys would be doing. Taisha says, yeah, they do use some fake snow. It's true. Okay, that's that's gotta be fun and expensive. And I hear that the timer for the next sprint has started. So let us get back to our docs, I suppose. And I'll see you in another 20 minutes. All right, that is sprint number 3. How did we do? Okay. 900 words read through on my end. We're getting there. We're getting there. I think a couple more sprints I should be done for with this entire chapter. Even then, some of this might be cut, so that's exciting. Taisha says, halfway through editing a chapter, the one historical fiction chapter in my sci-fi book. Totally cool. I am kind of curious. What does this chapter cover? Cryptic says, I'll be honest, I just chilled on the couch because I overdid it yesterday and now I hurt today. Totally cool. Saturday is a recharge day. I hope to do that after this. I know I said that I'd give Benjamin a bath, but I might chill out for an hour on the couch or something like that myself because I don't know what it is about these streams, but it's sort of like, maybe it's like because they start so early and I do so much work in them. Like, I am actually more productive during these streams than I am with the night write streams. So I am doing a lot of work, a lot of words, a lot of editing, a lot of research on the side. And between that and the fact that it's kind of early for me, all I'm thinking about is like curling up on the couch right now. But I am still going to do that 4th sprint for y'all. So we're going to go for one more round after this break. Gabe says, oh man, draft 2 of Avery's accidental coming out was when he wasn't ready is even more painful, and his dad's response is more cryptic. He is supportive, but he's bad with words, really bad. Ah, dads. That is familiar. But that said, it's going to be so cathartic to read. I am wishing Avery all the best. Taisha says, so the book is a retelling of the return of Atlantis to Atlanteans, except they're aliens, of course. Except they're aliens, of course. So I go back to the original writings by Plato, where Atlantis was first described as the origins. So this historical chapter is actually told by Hippocrates, contemporary of Plato, and how he scoffs at Plato's writings, but also discoveries made in some ancient alien ruins. That is actually really cool. Like, I don't really think that I've read too many Atlantis retellings that actually pull in the writings by Plato and discuss them. And honestly, those were a lot of fun. Like, ancient Greek texts are actually a lot more wild than you would think. I think, in my opinion, anyway. So I'm delighted to see some excellent historical references. Cryptic has given the eyes emojis, and Cryptic says Atlantis. Gabe says that's really cool at Taisha. And also, just for Cryptic and anybody else curious, please do go off about this Atlantis retelling, what it's about beyond. Well, I guess that would summarize it, like the return of Atlantis Atlanteans, but like plot. Feel free to go off about that, so we know. But that does sound like a lot of fun, and I hope that there is the hilarious Greek philosopher discourse in the text. Taisha says, yeah, going right back to the roots of what Plato described, Plato claimed his stories came from Egypt, and from Egypt they claimed the Atlantis stories were 9,000 years old. That's really interesting because I've also heard that I have to admit that I haven't gone too deeply into the actual texts of Atlantis. Although I do recall reading like Plato being like, yeah, this is just a metaphor, but then again, there are also texts that it's not unusual with Greek texts for one to kind of like disagree with the other or contradict with another. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was text that was like where Plato was like, yeah, and I also got inspiration from the Egyptians over here, or something like that. Taisha says, yeah, the whole book does explore how the aliens Atlanteans were corrupt, but trying to be better this time. Thanks, Gabe. And Cryptic. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, like, that's very Nadia Secret of Blue Water, isn't it? Not to spoil not to spoil a 30-year-old anime, but I'm just thinking about the fun that anime was, and the shenanigans of its backstory, and the oopsies that they did, like accidentally wiping out their own species. It's a good anime, by the way. It is free on YouTube, although it's the dub version, so you're gonna have to put up with a lot of bullshit. And I mean more bullshit than the Africa arc of that anime. Taisha says, and now I'm adding a new anime to my to-watch list. Thanks. Absolutely. It is it's as wild as 90s anime gets. Like I said, there is one arc that most fans will tell you to skip over, and they are correct. It's when they land in Africa, because like, so to give a brief summary of Nadia, the Secret of Blue Water, it centers around this girl and a boy inventor who stumbles across her. So it's Nadia and Jean, and Nadia doesn't remember where she came from. She's an orphan, and she knows that she's unusual compared to the people around her. So she's been traveling around in a circus trying to find out where she came from, when a bunch of jewel thieves hunt her down because she's in possession of a mystical jewel, the blue water. So she theorizes that she came from Africa because she is dark skinned, and her best friend is a white lion. So, lions, dark skin, obviously. This is 90s anime, so you'll have to excuse the kind of weird implications there. So, eventually, I'm not going to go and get into, like, there's a lot that goes on between that little point where the jewel thieves are after her and the part where they land in Africa. But they do eventually go to Africa trying to find out where she came from. Turns out she's not from there. She's actually, spoilers, she's actually Atlantean. But basically, they go to Africa and literally fucking nothing happens. It is basically a wild goose chase, because I think if I recall correctly, it's been a while. I'm pretty sure you basically know where she came from by then. But they go anyway, and literally all they do is fuck around and have beach episodes. It's basically, they treat it like they were in they washed up on a deserted island kind of thing. It contributes nothing to the overall plot, but it's there if you want to be a completionist. Don't watch those episodes if you're not. Cryptic says, just realized that for some reason I was somewhat behind on the stream rather than fully live. LOL. I do know that the live isn't, or the stream isn't fully live. There is a slight delay. I don't know exactly how long, but it is something that I've noticed quite a few times whenever I'd respond to something or I'd say something and then a couple minutes later you would respond to it. Or not you, but like generally the chat would respond to it. So, I can't, so I think it's kind of normal. Cryptic says filler arc. Yes. It is the, to be fair, that is Nadia's only filler arc. It is a short-ish anime, considering the fact that other animes of the period would go on forever. See also Pokemon, Naruto, One Piece, dare I go on. But it is, it's a few episodes and therefore sticks out. Like the rest of the story is very tight. I will give it that credit. Um, let's see. Tasha says, "I wish I were a fly in the room when writers meet and come up with arcs that are terrible, go nowhere within an otherwise great show. What were they thinking?" Well, if it helps explain anything, Nadia was created and mostly written by Hideaki Anno, who is better known as the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion. In fact, he ended Nadia and kind of like put it off to the side ish because Evangelion happened, if I recall correctly. And I say if it helps because if you watch Evangelion, especially the last couple of episodes, you'd be like, ah, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Taisha says, does it get fixed if we switch top chat at the top to live chat? Probably not. Top chat versus live chat is a filter versus unfiltered. So, at least on my end, top chat means that only like verified non-spam gets through. Or at least most message, or it'll filter out messages that could be spam. Live chat is I see literally everything, including the fun people. Or actually, Taisha figured that out a moment later. Cryptic says, oh, I was like a full 30 seconds or so behind everyone else. Taisha was saying things, and I had no idea what they were responding to. Ah, that's interesting. I have no idea what would cause that. Maybe the stream is different for everybody? But I don't know how it works. It's magic. Taisha says, guess that's for the chat, not that's for the stream. Weird. Cryptic says, it's fixed now, so I'm good. Yeah. Oh! Okay. I think I know. Sometimes you do need to reload the stream. I've accidentally, especially if you like pause, YouTube, for some reason, when they pause the stream, they will actually, if you hit the pause button on the stream, it will actually pause. But consequently, that means that you're no longer, exactly. You might have paused the stream at some point. So what happens is they will pause the stream, they will actually pause the stream, but the stream will continue onwards because obviously I'm a lab person, I'm not like a video right now. But YouTube is recording as I'm doing this, so for you it will be paused, but you will still have things to catch up on. But the chat is still watching me. They haven't actually paused it. I have done this so many times because I watch a lot of streams. So I would hit pause uh, and go off and do something. And I'd be like, oh shit, if I pause it, then I'm not synced. But if you refresh, then you should be synced up again. Uh, Cryptic says, as soon as you mentioned Evangelion, I knew why it was like that. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, let me switch over to our timer. That is the OBS window, not the actual Spirit City. And we do have one more stream or one more sprint, and then I will go into the usual ending bits. But 20 minutes are on the clock for this last stream. Wishing you the best of luck on this one last go. Get ready, get set, and here we go. Oh. Cryptic says I'm gonna head out because we have a few things we gotta get groceries wise. See y'all Wednesday. See, take care. Cryptic and stay safe and warm out there. All right, that is the last sprint. How did we do? Let's see. Okay. Read through 1440 words. Not too bad, and I only have a little bit left to go. So probably I'll finish up after the stream. But before then, that will be the last sprint that we did. So, as per usual, Taisha says halfway through editing the next chapter, I'll take it. Woot. Gabe says lost steam a little bit, but I think I did pretty good. Excellent to the both of you, but also Gabe, that is why that is going to be our last sprint for today. So let's take a look at the calendar. So I mentioned this on Night Rights, but our next stream, which I know not a lot of people have time to go to, but just in case, will be Wednesday night for Night Rights. That's Wednesday, February the 11th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that is to 12 hours, 12-hour difference, basically, compared to the time slot for morning rights. I will very likely not have too much going, or not have a special impromptu stream between then. I'd love to. I know that I'm going to need to read through chapter 6 and really overhaul it, but tomorrow I really just kind of want to vegetate, and that will be the only day that I'll have as a spare between now and Night Rights. So very likely no extra streams. That having been said, we're not going to have too much going on. As always, follow me at jackswolfwrites.bsky.social, just in case I announce that I feel like doing a stream on a weeknight. You never know. Usually I'll post that midday. So I would recommend also hitting that subscribe bell just to keep up with my posts. But do what you like. But otherwise, the very next T-Right stream, that is the Saturday morning stream, will actually be Valentine's Day, February 14th. So start the day with us, then go do something with whoever you'd like to celebrate Valentine's Day with. I know for a fact that I will probably be spending it with Benjamin, just chilling out at home. But in any case, to recap, Night Rights definitely happening Wednesday the 11th. Tea Rights, these morning streams, definitely going to be happening 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, February 14th. Start your Valentine's Day with us and explain to your partner why you're not giving them breakfast in bed, I guess. That having been said, thank you as always for coming to these Saturday morning streams. It is a delight to wake up for you guys. It's a delight to hang out and spend my Saturday mornings not lying around in bed, but actually doing things and being social. I will continue to do these for the foreseeable future at this time slot, but there is starting to be some discussion on B-Sky from the West Coasters, so we'll see. I'll keep you updated about whether or not things change. But in the meantime, otherwise, Gabe says thank you for hosting, Dex, and thank you for coming. Taisha says thank you so much for hosting. Hope you have a delightful weekend and happy writing, everybody. Seconding on all accounts. But that said, not going to hold y'all hostage for much longer. So I hope you have an excellent Saturday. Hope you have an excellent rest of your week. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for Night Rights. If not, totally cool. I'll see y'all on Saturday. Until then, take care of yourselves. Know that I love you. And I'll see ya next time. Bye.